G'day, how you doing? Adam Williams here from Easy Way Photography. This is pretty exciting. It's a 32 photo head-to-head knockout photography competition. What's going to happen is we're going to have two images on the screen at once, and then I'll choose the winner that I feel is the strongest image between those two photos. The winner will move through to the following round, the next round, and the loser will be eliminated. Now, given that Easy Way Photography is an education site, what we're going to try and do at the same time is, whilst the match is on, I'm going to talk about the positive elements within each photo that I'm really drawn to. And as each image is eliminated, I'll try and offer a little bit of critique that might improve that image. Now, keep in mind, both the positive and the possible critiques are only my opinion, as is the potential winner of each matchup. So if you don't agree, that's okay. That's completely understandable. And if you also don't agree with my critique, then I'm happy for that too. But it's always good to at least take a look, try what I'm saying and see if it appeals to you a bit more. If it doesn't, that's perfectly okay. Now, given the fact this is a head-to-head knockout competition, so the loser is eliminated as soon as it's lost its head-to-head match, there is a possibility that two very strong photos might come up against each other very early on, thereby having a strong image eliminated. So just keep in mind, if you are knocked out by one of the images that makes it very deep into the competition, potentially your image was quite strong too. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But you can take a little bit of heart out of that if you're knocked out by one of the images that goes on to make the final, for example. Now, something else very exciting, possibly even more exciting than this competition, is the fact that Easy Way Photography Online is now live. It's now launched. It's something I've been working on for, like 2 or 3 years. This project's been going on, and I'm extremely proud of what I've achieved so far. It's going to get bigger and better as time goes by. For the time being, easywayphotography.com.au has 2 courses, and then those 2 courses are also bundled together to create a third option. The 2 courses currently are Photoshop Essentials. Okay, that's the beginner Photoshop workflow. And then we have Photoshop Accelerator, which goes on top or merges into the Essentials course to make an even more powerful workflow. Okay, you can also skip the Essentials and go straight to Accelerator if you like, and use that Accelerator workflow to improve your current workflow. Now, as I said, there's also a bundle which combines those 2 workflows together into the ultimate Photoshop workflow. So check that out, it's great value. Now, one of the really great things about Easy Way Photography is it is for landscape photographers. Okay, so that allows for rapid improvements because we're not fussing around with all the things that we don't need to worry about. Okay, it's targeted education to improve your landscape photography, specifically at this point, your Photoshop workflow within landscape photography. Okay, so if you imagine, just for an example, Photoshop is an enormous program that caters for graphic artists, digital painters, every form of photography you can think, and much, much more. Even videography, animation, all sorts of different things. So when we open up Photoshop, it looks massive, it looks daunting, it looks complex. That's because we're looking at Photoshop, 100% of the software program. But if we break that down to just what we need as landscape photographers, we're literally probably looking at 5 or 10% of Photoshop. Okay, so it becomes much more simplified, much easier, and the improvements come much more rapidly because we only learn exactly what we need to learn to give our photos that something special. And as I mentioned earlier, easywayphotography.com.au has just launched this week. And for the first 50 subscribers to use this particular code, Launch Party, up there on the screen, if you're one of the first 50 subscribers to add that code in at checkout, you'll receive a 20% discount. Okay, so a pretty handy discount there. So make sure you jump in pretty quick. I'm not sure how long those first 50 will last. I don't imagine too long at all. But jump in there and grab that discount. Okay, that being said, let's get down to what we're here for. Let's start the very first Easy Way Photography 32 photo head-to-head knockout photo competition. Of course, I've already mentioned that the winner of this competition will receive a 12-month subscription to the Ultimate Workflow Bundle at easywayphotography.com.au. So let's go ahead and get started. Now keep in mind this is the test phase. I'm hoping it's going to run smooth, but you can never tell, so fingers crossed. Here we go with the first two images. Nice dramatic sunrise or sunset there. You can see the colour in the sky. I quite like the leading line, so the composition is quite nice, really drawing me back to that colourful sky there. Let's have a look at the other image. Wow, what a colour bomb that is. Again, quite a nice composition with the still water reflections of the pool in the foreground. And then we also have those lines of the pool edge drawing us out to the central area of the image and helping us get right back to that colourful sky. The element that I really love about this image is this beautiful little wave. Looks like there's a great little wave. Actually, you'll notice that's one of the features that I'm hoping to remove for the next stage of this competition, is the fact that the name flashes up on the screen as we go through. But the element that I really like here is this little tiny wave and a surfer out there having a bit of a sunrise surf there. So I love that little element about this image. Okay, of those two images, I'm going to go with the real colour bomb here. And you can see the eliminated image flashes up. And with this particular image, possible improvements would be to control the highlight area a little bit better here. So the colour's gone a little bit wild. Well, at least for my liking there. A little bit saturated through those yellows. And I can see the photographer's tried to pull the highlights down, or at least that's what it looks like, because the clouds have gone unnaturally dark around those highlights. Okay, so just controlling those highlights, potentially with a second exposure possibly, and then maybe a little bit more finesse on the colour of that sky possibly. Again, just my opinion. Let's move on to the next round. Of course, that beautiful colourful one has gone through to round 2. Match 2 here. That sky is to absolutely die for. What I would give to have that in my sky folder. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Another really quite saturated image here. Obviously 𝗃𝗃 in the red center. Absolutely stunning. I'm looking forward to heading there in only, what is it now? Just over a month's time, I think. Long exposure. I like the long exposure effect. I like the fact that, we have a really strong subject. The light is gorgeous as well. So two quite strong images there. I just can't go past this sky. Absolutely gorgeous. So that one will be the winner. And this one is unfortunately eliminated. Now, possible improvement. For me, my opinion only again, I do love a saturated colour, but I think possibly, I know how saturated 𝗃𝗃 can be at sunset, which I guess this is of, I'm pretty sure. And it does glow red. But maybe it's just a touch, just a tiny teensy touch too much. Again, only my opinion. Beautiful image though. Let's move on. Okay. Pretty wild, abstract, mirror reflected image here. Well, I assume so. It couldn't be. Could it be a reflection? Well, it's obviously reflected in two directions. Okay, so it's reflected not only across the horizontal, but it's also reflected across the vertical. So it is a mirror reflection abstract there. You can see similar to this sometimes in a gorge with the water lapping up against some pretty awesome rock features, which I think possibly might be where this inspiration for this image has come from. But it's really dramatic, I feel. I'm really drawn into the light area in the middle here. I love these kind of, I don't know, there's kind of a facial feature, you know, like with a big strong kind of head dress on there. Okay, so I'm loving that. There's kind of a set of abstract arms or something. I quite like that feature in this particular image, and obviously the symmetry and even, you know, the tonality of the images is really quite strong and beautiful, and even the colorization, that slight warmth that has been placed in this image. So yeah, that's a beauty. That'll be tough to beat, actually. Well, in this matchup, I'm not sure what the other images are like throughout the competition, but particularly in this matchup, that will be tough to beat. So here we go. This is the one trying to knock it out of the competition. Okay, so a beautiful night scene here. I'm not sure exactly where that is. I quite like the blue and the yellow combination there. And okay, so in future, I'm going to specify that we can't have any watermarks, but sim it was just a test. There are several images that do have a watermark, so I just left them alone. I just left them in there, no big deal. Okay, let's, well, unfortunately, this is a really strong winner, and it's going to go to this abstract symmetry reflection here. Possible points of improvement. Look, for me, it's a nice image. I'm really struggling for that, you know, simplified subject and isolation that I look for in a really strong image. I mean, we do have this beautiful, what looks to be a church in the background, but, you know, I'm really struggling. I want it to be more simplified, and that tends to make a more powerful image. You know, we've got these boats. The leading line is nice, dragging me back, but, yeah, I don't know. You know, would it be stronger if we were standing directly in front of the church with that pathway leading down of lights? Possibly. You know, isolation. I guess that's what I'm saying. Next matchup. A couple of panoramas here. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. I know it's in Iceland. This beautiful waterfall here. And, you know, it's quite an iconic scene with this mountain in the background. I've been there. The iconic scene is actually, well, the image that you see a little more often is usually taken a little closer to the waterfall. So that, I mean, this is a little bit different, which is great. And it's quite appealing. I've been here too. This one is Camel Rock. Very dramatic seascape location down in the south coast of New South Wales. Beautiful. Well, I was going to say beautiful light, but actually the light itself is not that beautiful. The sky is beautiful, but because we're shooting essentially straight at the sun, the light in the rest of the image is rather flat. It has been obviously double exposed or something, or maybe the sky is dropped in, because if the sun was right here, you'd expect the foreground to be particularly dark. With maybe just hints of the sunlight splashing through particular areas. So there's something a little bit not quite right with the light in this image. Beautiful sky, and I can see what the photographer is going for there. Okay, between the two, I think I'm going to have to go with this Iceland waterfall image. So that one has gone through to the next round, and possible points of improvement. As I said, I'm not exactly sure what's happened here as far as where the sun is and what's going on with the light. Now, I'd expect, obviously, this to be much darker in silhouette with touches of golden highlights, if that was to be the case. But it's obviously been brought right up, and we've lost a lot of those shadows. And I feel that shadows kind of tell the story of the light and add drama to the image. So I'd like to see a little bit more of those shadows and a little bit more of that dimensional light within this image. Okay, I hope that helps. Again, just my opinion. Let's move on. Really dramatic seascape location here. You know, I like the use of a shortish exposure to really capture the motion of the water there. Subject here, yeah, that's quite nice. This little waterfall shot, again, quite a nice shot. Looks like it might be some water rushing off a seascape location by those little barnacles there. Okay, of those two, I'm drawn more to this seascape image, so that will go through to the next round. And this particular image here, how would I improve it? For me, you know, the contrast, I guess mid-tone, you know, the contrast through the mid-tones might do with a little bit of a boost. Yeah, it's a great subject. It's just the tonality's not really screaming to me, I guess, on this particular image. Moving on to the next round. Okay, a couple of colourful images here. This one, to me, looks like it might be 𝗂𝗏 National Park. I don't recognise it specifically for the location, but the colours give it away a little bit. Great subject, shooting up through the gorge there. Love the colours. The light itself looks like it might be, you know, maybe mid-morning, so not quite sunrise, but I quite like the way the light is working there and the way the shadows have been pulled up a little bit. You know, all in all, quite a pleasing image. And then we have this image of the, looks like, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but geisha girl, so that's my best pronunciation. In this beautiful, gorgeous tunnel that you see. Now, very vibrant, very appealing image. And it's quite a close matchup. In fact, I think it's quite close, but I think I'll give it to the geisha girls in this particular scenario. There's nothing particularly wrong with the gorge photo there. It's not overly dramatic. In fact, let's click that through and bring us through to the elimination stage here. Possible improvements. I'm not sure, maybe slightly better light, you know, getting that light right in the golden hour as the light breaks the horizon, and maybe, I'm not sure if the light at any point at sunrise or sunset kind of splashes through this gorge and reflects really those golden colours in the water. That's a maybe. You know, otherwise just trying to get a little bit more drama and a little bit more of something special in that image, I suppose. Let's move on. Again, we've got a watermark there. So let's click through. You know, really quite an appealing image. I love the tonality. I love the colours, especially through this lip of the wave there. It's really bold and I just love it. It just grabs me. Composition is excellent. The way it's just completing the entire wave. You know, that's excellent composition. Technique is really great. So that's a great image. This one here. This one's really mysterious. I quite like the, you know, the tonality. Obviously the photographer has used a very shallow depth of field, which is really drawing me into this element here. I'm not 100% exactly what the photographer is making of that there. It does, you know, looks maybe like a little gumnut baby resting in the gum tree there, something like that, which is pretty cool. Tonality is nice. As I said, the use of the shallow depth of field is really great in this scenario to simplify what is otherwise potentially quite a complex image. We'll come back to that. I'm going to put this image through, the wave image. I'm really drawn to that particular image. Okay, so for this particular image, I'm wondering whether we could just pop the area of the subject just up a little bit more, maybe a little bit more contrast into that area, is the only really thing that I can see improving that. I think it's a, you know, it's a relatively appealing image, and the use of the depth of field is really helping to isolate that particular area. Maybe a slightly tighter crop also, just to really bring in and show those details of that little element there that the photographer is trying to highlight. Let's move on to the next. Okay, here's another potentially really strong matchup. Okay, so, quite a nice feel and mood and finish to this image. We have these three, I might want to check my counting. There's 4 main trees. Actually, let's try that again. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the minor one for 6. So that was a pretty special moment. Okay, so as I said, nice finish, nice subject, nice wintry scene with some nice, it's only soft light, maybe, some streaming light across these dunes, these snow dunes. Could even improve the image a little bit more, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's look at this image here. Wow. I've seen this particular storm cell. It was one that John Armitage actually captured. This might even be John's image, in fact. Captured a couple of years, 2-3 years back. It was a huge storm up around the Port Macquarie area. Just phenomenal storm. Well captured within the entire frame here. Actually, there was the photographer's name just flashed up. It's not John's image. Just a phenomenal storm, just gorgeous. And a really dark and moody image. Now, wow, I'm a bit torn. Both of these images are, should really be in the next round, but they're not going to be. I don't know. I'm really torn between those two. You know what? My first impression was the trees, so I'm going to run with the trees. Possible points of improvement? Not many, to tell you the truth. Great image. Great storm. Could we maybe darken down the foreground to get a little bit more impact? Possibly, possibly not. It is a great image. Don't change too much at all. Okay, round 9. Now, obviously, the first round's going to take a little longer because we're talking a lot about the images. As we get through to the next ones, it should be a little bit quicker. This is a great image. Look at that flow, the drama, probably about a 1 second, half a second exposure, something like that. Really capturing the mood of the storm and the swell and the wave crashing over the front of the pylon there. And, the way the waves are really pulling back in the foreground is great. And the light in the sky is really nice as well. And then this one, we've got this really kind of moody jetty here. Again, the depth of field used helps to draw right down to the end of the jetty where the subject is, so that's excellent. I can see the raindrops on the water, which is a really nice feature, particularly here and here. Another gourd, 2 great images, I'm going to really struggle. Again, they both possibly should be moving through to round 2. Again, the first one, the one that really appeals to me in this scenario is that, let's go back, is this one here, okay? That pipe running out into that stormy swell. But on another day, I'm even doubting myself now. Should I possibly have chosen this one because it's different and it's, it's moody and it's beautiful. Possible points of improvement. There's something going on the horizon. I'm wondering why the horizon is so wavy like this. Okay, particularly on the left edge here. Is it possibly a panoramic image that's been stitched together? That would be my first inclination, that it's just been stitched a little bit wayward there. So, I did see this in the initial look, and that's probably the main reason why it didn't make it through this particular round. I think if it had have been technically sound, and look, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's a reason why that horizon is up, but in this scenario, that kind of thing can potentially cost you from going through. Let's move along. Okay, really wild and vibrant. So I'm not sure of this location, whether that's sunrise. I think it's sunrise in this location, yeah. It's quite a popular composition. I've seen this shot taken a lot, but it is quite a nice rendition of this particular composition of, I think it's called Dragon's Head Rock or something or other, in South Australia somewhere. I think it's around Robe. I've never been there. And then this beautiful image as well. Look at that gorgeous light on that mountain in the background. Beautiful stream dragging me back to that scene of mountains, that gorge as the river runs through there. Beautiful, subtle. The colours haven't tried to be pushed too hard. And I really like that fact that you can just use the subtlety and the grand nature of the landscape and the light and create a really powerful image. Okay, so based on that, I feel the image on the right is the strongest. Whoops, I nearly clicked the wrong winner. So we'll click on that one. This image, look, I don't know whether we can improve a lot. It is a fairly common subject in composition, which is going to take a little bit of impact away. Well, at least that's the way I see it. Maybe a sky with either, a more dramatic sky or a sky with, the clouds and the light breaking through and a bit of colour here and there, giving it that kind of drama. I'm not sure. If you love colourful skies, maybe cropping down might give the image a little bit more impact. There's a whole bunch of blank space up here. Worth a try anyway. Moving on to classic Australian images here. Okay, I'm trying really hard not to look at those names flashing up. I didn't see whose that was there. I've been here, Horseshoe Falls, and this is absolutely gorgeous. When I was there, the second waterfall on the left here wasn't really flowing. Okay, so just mainly the right one. So I didn't get anything quite as powerful as this. So this is quite gorgeous. The colours are rather toned down and interesting. I kind of like them, I think. It's an interesting take. It's kind of got a little bit of drama about it, quite dark and moody. And then I haven't been to this location in Tasmania. I think it's in the Bay of Fires somewhere. Gorgeous. Look at the colours in the sky and the colours in the rocks and that single tree. Again, it's a very popular composition, as is Horseshoe Falls, both very popular. Classic Australian photographs that are photographed quite regularly. Wow, how do I choose? They're both very good. It's a little bit easier, I think, for me to choose when they're side by side, okay? I think the Horseshoe Falls has a little bit more power and presence when they're side by side like that. So pass that one on to the next round. And possible points of improvement, not much. It's a really powerful image. If it had been a sunrise, sunset specific competition, this would do very well, I feel. The problem for me, is shooting at this time of day when you've got the really colourful sky, is you get really flat light in the foreground, okay? See how the light is very non-dimensional? There's not much shadows, there's not many highlights, and there's not much dimension to these rocks in the foreground. I'd love it if, the sun was coming up from one side, from the left or the right, and potentially just touching the tops of the rocks and giving that kind of three-dimensional feel to that foreground. Again, just my opinion, disregard it if you like. Okay. Gorgeous little country scene. No idea where it is, but I love the reflections. Love that light on top of the hill here. Yeah, possibly even want to see a little bit more of that hill, more of that gorgeous light. The subject is just popping out within the scene, which is great. Yeah, gorgeous. And then we have this moody, this is a gorgeous sky. Look at the little bit of light, little bit of mood in the sky. And then that gorgeous leading line of that foreground and water flow dragging us back to the point of sky, light in the sky there. Again, it's quite close, but I'm going to go with this kind of country scene, river scene reflections and push that one through. Possible points of improvement. I'm not sure. Maybe choosing a stronger subject to anchor the image, which can be difficult sometimes. This is quite a strong subject, so you can't do too far wrong with that if there's nothing else around. Again, the lack of dimensional light. And there was a hint of just kind of maybe haloing or over sharpening to some of these details in the foreground when I zoomed in, so keep your eye on that. Moving on to the next. Okay. Quite a nice image, you know, strong subject, beautiful leading line running through, and, you know, really nice cityscape image. The orange hat is a nice touch too. Oops, I nearly clicked winner instead of the photograph. That would have been a false move, potentially. But maybe this is the winner. Beautiful gorge shot. Nice light streaming down. And look at the light on the sides of these rocks and whatnot there. Absolutely gorgeous. Really peaceful image. Tough one again. They're both very close. The graphic nature of this and the kind of, you know, I guess slightly different nature of the tunnel here kind of appeals to me. I know it is quite a well shot location. It's shot a lot, but initially that one has the presence to go through. Possible improvements on this image, and it possibly might have been enough to get it through, is the fact that I want to see a little tiny bit more control over just those highlight points there. And look, that's about it. You know, it's a really nice image. It's just those couple of highlights that look like they've just been pushed a little bit too far. Okay, so maybe just controlling those. Okay, match 14 of 16. We're nearly wrapping up round 1. Hope you're not getting too bored with this. Okay, so beautiful again sunrise shot, but this time we have that dimensional light. We've got a little bit of light on the rocks on the right and also hitting that beautiful splash there that's hitting the rocks, okay? And then up against the Devil's Marbles. Okay, so Devil's Marbles, I love the Devil's Marbles. I spent an entire week camping there trying to get the shot at one point about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just gorgeous. I loved it. Very dramatic sky and, you know, great subject there. And the light's pretty nice on those rocks too. It could be a little bit more dimensional and a little bit more side lit. It's quite coming from behind the photographer relatively straight, but quite nice. Of those two images, the Devil's Marble is going through. And how to improve this image? You know, it's quite nice. Again, maybe a stronger subject, but it's quite a nice image. The colour of the sky is a little bit, I want to say lemon flavoured. A little bit of a lemon tone in those yellows, which probably means there's a little bit too much green or something in there. So I want to see those tones maybe a little bit warmer. Maybe try, this is my hunch, maybe try adding a teensy bit of magenta. Okay, moving on. Wow, that's pretty gorgeous. Look at the layering as we move through these trees, clouds, mountains, well not mountains, but hills and clouds and fog and then cityscape. And then the mirroring in the background, that's a pretty gorgeous image. Up against this one, which is pretty gorgeous itself. Now look at the light, you know, this is what we're trying to achieve, or what I'm trying to achieve if I'm shooting sunrise or sunset, is that kind of golden light splashing across the subjects and giving it a little bit of dimensionality. Even though we are shooting pretty much directly at the sun, we're still getting a little bit of dimension as it splashes across these rocks here. So that's working out. Okay, really both very nice images. I'm going to go with this particular one here, which means this one here is going to be knocked out. Possible points of improvement, you know, not a lot. It's quite appealing. The color tone's gorgeous. The tonality is beautiful. The gold color across the image is really nice. So, you know, it's quite a beautiful image, but it's come up against a very strong image. The final matchup for round 1 sees this tree, which is quite nice, great subject. out in the field there. I do quite like that up against this one, which is very bold. Kind of got that pinky magenta sky and the very blue foreground. And then it's also been, I'm not sure if it's been mirror reflected both ways. No, I think it's just been mirror reflected left to right. I think the foreground is actually natural. Okay, so does that, I ask myself in this scenario, does mirror reflecting this image from left to right now make the image stronger had it not been mirror reflected? So why does the image get stronger? There is kind of the hint of a face in there. Okay, maybe that's what the photographer was liking. If I kind of cover up the right hand section of the image with my hand, it's still, quite an appealing image. I'm not sure it gets a great deal stronger, maybe a little bit. I quite like them both. Of these two, I'm going to narrowly give the win to the lone tree, the classic lone tree. Okay, so it's a bit cliche, but there we go with the winner. For this image, I applaud the photographer. I think the mirror reflection was a good idea. I think it improved the image. I'm not 100% convinced that the split toning of the magenta and the blue is working for me. Maybe play around with those color combinations a little bit. Maybe pink and blue is not quite the right combination. Maybe, orange and blue might have worked better. Just have a play with that and see if there's not a more appealing color combination. Let's move on. Okay, beautiful. We managed to get through round one. Okay, and I might even split this video up into round one and then the rest. We'll see how we go, how long it ends up. But let's move into round two. Here we go. So here we have a couple of winners. Okay, of course, this color bomb, gorgeous colors in the sky, versus this overly dramatic sky and reflections. Wow. Again, I do see some problems with this image on the right, mind you, and I'm going to alert to them possibly if it eventually gets eliminated and doesn't win. It may well win the entire competition, but it's going to go through again here. It's just overly dramatic and the light is gorgeous in the sky, and the reflections are beautiful too. So this image is eliminated. How do you make that better? I don't know. That is just gorgeous. I love the wave, as I said. Foreground's beautiful. The color is gorgeous. I don't know. It's just beautiful. I mean, one thing with overly saturated skies is they do tend to dominate the image. In this scenario, I think that's what the photographer was going for. So excellent work and an excellent image. In another competition, it might do a little better. Okay, so we've got this, abstract pattern here, symmetrical kind of pattern there, versus the iconic Iceland waterfall. So in this scenario, the winner for me, just because it's so different and the tonality is so gorgeous, is going to be that abstract pattern. How would I improve this image? I want to see a little bit of directional light. This mountain just really comes to life when it's lit on one side and in shadow on the other, giving that dimension. Maybe a slightly more dramatic sky. I know we travel to Iceland, we only get one shot or one day usually at these locations, so you kind of take what you get, and it's not always exactly what you want. It's a great photo. Congratulations for the photographer for choosing a slightly different composition, but maybe with some directional light, it could add a little bit more drama. Okay, so this one, dramatic seascape location, could be the coast of Tasmania, possibly the west coast, versus the geisha girls here. Look, I think for me, this one, the drama of the seascape, only just, I'm hovering, just pips out the geisha girls. Now for me, I would like this image to have a little bit more of that dimensional tunnel, thereby waiting for the subject, the geisha girls, to walk a little bit deeper, so they're quite small and allows me to take the journey down the path before I find the subject would, for me, possibly improve the image a little bit. Obviously, you might lose a little bit of the fine details, but I think just adding that little bit of mystery by allowing me to travel that journey might improve that image a touch. Wow, two strong ones here. This image is just gorgeous. I know I did see, you're probably screaming out, the dust spot, the dust spot. I did see that in round one also. And I was going to talk about that when it potentially gets knocked out or even at the end if it wins. But yes, the dust spot there is a bit of a miss. And then obviously versus this one here. Now, dust spot and all, I'm going to push through this one. It's just a gorgeous capture, really strong. So that one goes through. Again, potential improvement. This is the Iceland again, I think, and the sky is rather gorgeous, but the dimensional light in the foreground is really not there. Kind of those folds of the hills, if there was a light splashing down there and kind of some shadows around in the foreground, might help to make that a little bit more dramatic. Wow, it's getting strong now, isn't it? Okay, so we've got this image here, just drama in the sky, in the foreground. I like the subject. And then we've got this kind of classic scene. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go with this one here, only just. Possible improvement here, not much. Not much at all. It does kind of feel like it might be slightly tilting downwards to the right a little bit. Maybe that's just that inclination of the hill there putting me out. But even the foreground feels like the right-hand side of the bank is lower than the left a tiny bit. So have a tweak around with that. But that's not the reason why I guess it was knocked out. It just came up against a stronger image this time around. In another day, another mood for me, I might choose this one over the other. Not much in it. Okay, so Horseshoe Falls here, gorgeous, dramatic, versus this classic scene with that beautiful light in the background. Wow, this is tough. I can see reasons to push both through, reasons to keep, eliminate both. Just for the fact I haven't seen this particular location before and it's so close, I'm going to push the country house through, eliminating this one of Horseshoe Falls. Okay, so possible points of improvement. I think maybe just, the hint of bringing up the light and on the tips of these rocks here, maybe just a touch of golden light or something to give it that kind of, cold shadows and golden highlights. I'm clutching at straws a little bit. Great composition, the way it just pulls you up through here and then wraps around to the falls. The dark shadowing, the vignette on the sides is quite nice to hide those details that we really don't want to see. And the subject is gorgeously highlighted. So again, consider yourself a little bit unlucky to be knocked out in round two here. Okay, still in round two. That one versus the Devil's Marbles here. Again, there's not much in this. I'm going to go with the cityscape there and knock out the Devil's Marbles. As I said previously, potentially trying to get a little bit more dimensional light on the marbles is really when they come to life. If you can see here, the dimensional light of the left-hand marble on the frame where it's lit on the side and in shadow. But then our main subject marbles are really one directional light coming straight behind. So possibly moving over to the right here to open up and see some of the shadow edges of the marbles might have slightly improved that. Who knows? Again, just my opinion. Moving along. I think this is the last match in round 2. So we have this gorgeous layered landscape, cityscape here versus the classic, almost cliche one tree. A lot to like about this one tree, but I'm going to push through the layered landscape here. Okay, so possible points of improvement would be the tonality is kind of lacking in blacks, which I kind of like, but I would possibly look at just bumping up the contrast in the center around the tree here and allowing that low contrast around the edge. What that's going to do is, by increasing the contrast in the middle, is going to highlight the subject, highlight the light on these little tiny kind of field flowers or daisies or whatever they might be there, those gorgeous little yellow flowers. It will highlight those and really pick them up and give it that kind of spotlight effect, but maybe worth a shot. The quarterfinals. Okay, let's move on. Only 4 matches in the quarterfinals, of course. Wow, here we go. It's really on now. Okay, I just love this sky. I wish it was mine, as I said before. And look, I wish this image was mine as well. It's dramatic, it's gorgeous, its tonality is pretty special. And for that reason, it moves through, knocking out that gorgeous sky. So let's have a talk about that sky now. I've seen a couple of issues in this image from the beginning. The main one that stands out is it feels like the horizon has a big curve in it, dropping off to the right here. Okay, see, that looks like the reflection of that cloud there. Okay, I can't see that cloud up above here. So it looks like the horizon goes down to the right like so. That being the case, it's not terribly hard to fix, but, unwarp that horizon and straighten that out, and this image might have gone a little further. The second point is the inclusion of the person. Now, I agree that often makes the image stronger, but I'm not sure about the pose. To me, it looks like the person is capturing an image for themselves, and I'm just not sure that adds to the drama of this particular image. Maybe a different pose, or, if I put my thumb over that person there, I think the image gets, for me, in that pose, the image gets better with the dramatic sky. Okay, moving on. Okay, dramatic seascape, rugged coastline versus this beautiful long exposure wave and its dust spot. The wave still gets it. It's only just scraping through, but it's managing to get there. That dust spot's probably going to bring it unstuck, but for the time being, it's having a good run. The photographer, I'm sure, is nervous that it might cost him or her at some stage. Again, this landscape, very dramatic landscape, but not very dramatic light. See how the light is lacking in shadow and highlight? It's not particularly dimensional. It's very flat, one-dimensional light. And I'm assuming the sun is behind a cloud somewhere or hasn't yet risen, creating that one-dimensional. We're looking for three-dimensional light where you really get that, highlights and golden light splashing off particular points in the landscape and shadows coming off other points in the landscape, which really offers dimension in a photograph. So that would be how I would look at improving this particular landscape image. Okay, drama-filled seascape here versus this beautiful country scene with beautiful light. Again, it's tough, but I'm going to go with the drama-filled landscape. Oh, for a minute I had a flashback that I pressed the wrong button, but I didn't. And that shows the strength of this image, because I thought, what am I doing? Eliminating it. It's gorgeous. Keep doing what you're doing. There are a couple of points When capturing a panoramic image, I know it's a gorgeous style of imaging, and Ken Duncan would be proud, I'm sure, to call this his own. But I do ask myself, on a competition sense, does the image require all of that width? Does the image get stronger with all of that width? And I'm feeling that maybe, chopping a little bit off the right-hand side here could even make the image stronger. And as I mentioned earlier, I really want to see more of this gorgeous light, the light's streaming over, and look at the way you've got this dimensional light and shadow on the hill. It's kind of just got me just wanting more of that. Okay, so that is what I feel when I look at that image. Okay, moving on. Cityscape, really graphic tunnel scene there versus this beautiful layered landscape. I think the layered landscape has got it for me, so that will push through. This image, it's classic. I've seen the shot many, many times. It's a great interpretation. It does to me, I'm not sure what's doing it, and I think it's just my eye, but it feels like it is slightly tilting down. But the more I look at it, I think maybe no, it is level. But there's an illusion there. Maybe that it's the walls being out of alignment here and using this line as the central point of pulling me in. Possibly cropping. I don't know. Have a play around with the crop, and also play around with the, maybe the tonalities a bit, to see if it can't even strengthen up a little bit more. Let's move along. Semi-finals, 4 images left. As I said, not necessarily the strongest 4 because of the nature of the competition, but that's great, something different. Let's move in. Okay. This one here, as I said, I'll repeat myself again, beautiful tonality, really highlighting that central area as the subject. It's a really attractive image. And then we have this wave here. Again, a really attractive image, beautiful capture, really technically hard to capture, I imagine. I guess it's a long lens on a tripod with a really, not fastish, not slowish, like maybe a fraction of a second, maybe a tenth of a second. Let me know if you're the photographer here. Red Eye Imagery, there you go. Check them out. I'm going to go with the abstract again. And I think this time the dust spot, if that dust spot is not there, I'm thinking long and hard, or much longer and much harder about what goes through. The other element is some of the contrast, particularly in this section right here, feels a little bit, it's a tinsy bit too heavy-handed. I'd be inclined to just back that off a tiny bit. It might even be like a high-pass filter or a clarity filter having that effect, but it feels a tiny bit heavy just in this area there where the mouse is. Have a look at that anyway. Again, just my opinion. Semi-final number 2. Okay. Drama, things going on everywhere versus peace, quiet, and layers. Wow. Okay. I'm going to go with the layers over the drama. Possible points to improve this image. Not many, but I can see 1 or maybe 2. This little element of seaweed or something here, I always ask myself, and maybe the photographer likes to keep it, real without removing elements, but I always ask myself about each element, are they directly contributing or helping to the drama or the story of this image? And that little rock or weed there is distracting to me and not really helping. So I would definitely look at removing that. Other than that, not much. Maybe a tinsy bit more contrast in the sky, maybe. But other than that, the tones are controlled beautifully. And it's a really powerful, dramatic image. So, excellent work, well done to getting this far. We made it. The grand finale, the grand final. 2 images left. And of course, they are these two here. Okay, so this incredibly dramatic, tonally attractive image here. It's kind of interesting because I know the top is a reflection of the bottom or vice versa. However, if we look at the bottom figure here, completely different looking figure. Looks like a feline god or a cat god, kind of a cat facial feature there. And then up here you've got that more kind of human feature, eyes here, nose, and a kind of a very stern looking face. And then you've got this big headdress kind of looking on here, which is pretty incredible. So the way those features give a completely different feel depending on which way they're viewed on the image. As I said, you've got this dimensionality to the image which really falls right back, a lot of depth. Okay, a lot of depth as it goes falling right back. At least that's the way it feels to me. My eye is also drawn right into this gorgeous light there, which is pretty incredible. And then you have all this dimensionality of the graphic lines and textures and tonality. Gorgeous. And then versus this incredible image. You know, just layer after layer after layer of fog and hill and fog and then city and then sky, which is also layered upon layer on layer. It's pretty gorgeous. Very tough decision. I mean, you know, coming back to viewing them head to head like this, and I am favouring the graphic nature of this particular image. It's a bit out there, it's a bit wild. I mean, congratulations for, you know, really pushing the boundaries. And this one's really classic and layered. You know, maybe this is the winner. That's extremely classic in nature. Okay. This time, any one of these images could have won, and you know, they've knocked out a lot of good images along the way. So if you've been knocked out by one of these images, you know, maybe you've been hard done by. The winner of the very first competition, the very first Easy Way competition, and will be, the prize of course is a 12-month subscription to the ultimate Easy Way photography bundle, which includes the Photoshop Essentials and the Photoshop Accelerator workflow, is this particular image here. And this is the winning image. I think it's spectacular. You know, it's a bit out there. The photographer has used the mirror flip effect to achieve this image, but you know, it's been done extremely well. The tonality is incredible. The light's incredible. And the subjects and those kind of, you know, being able to project different visions and see different things within this image is pretty awesome. Now, of course, that means that this particular image was the image that was knocked out in the grand final. Okay, it's an incredible image. Any other day, it could have gone on to win. But and even up against that particular image, if I was feeling different or a different mood, it could have definitely won. So congratulations for getting this far. And if we click on the results page here, I'll leave that on there for a little while, and you can see, the photographers that you came up against, the photographers that you've knocked out. There's some incredibly talented photographers in there. You can also put the names to the photographers of each image, possibly, if you write those names down, and head back and have a look. Now, obviously, Aaron is the winner. Incredible image, Aaron. And I'll be organising you the 12-month subscription to Easy Way Photography, the ultimate workflow subscription. Now, as I said at the beginning, easywayphotography.com.au has now launched. There is now an easy way to learn Photoshop for landscape photographers. I've spent a lot of time and effort in finding the easy way for every single technique and solution within Photoshop. Even the more advanced techniques, I've found an easy solution, or at least that's what I believe. Let me know when you sign up and take a look if you feel that I've managed to really achieve that goal. That was the goal, to deliver will give you guys the simplest and easiest techniques to create incredibly powerful photography. It is in fact my workflow, my complete workflow that I'm giving you guys. So I in fact use a very simple set of tools and techniques to create the images that I create. Okay, so if you want to create really powerful, really emotive, and get the most out of every single raw file, jump over and check out the workflow at easywayphotography.com.au. Thank you for watching along. Keep in mind there is Easy Way Photography on Facebook, which you can join up to. You don't necessarily have to be a member to join Easy Way Photography on Facebook and get a whole bunch of free content there. There is also Easy Way Photography at YouTube. Again, a lot of great free content there. And that was the test run for the 32 image head-to-head photo competition. It went reasonably well. I will make some notes about a couple of things that I want switched around, and I'll change that for our very first official Easy Way Photography subscribers competition, which will be in a couple of weeks' time. I'll send an email out to all the subscribers of easyway.com.au online about that competition, and we'll get that running. Of course, there'll be other great things which are accessible, not only the workflow, but we'll be doing, group photo competitions like this one. We'll be doing photo critiques. I'll be doing online presentations and question and answers and, live edits and all these kind of great things that will be accessible to the subscribers, as well as those workflow techniques. Okay, so that being said, thank you for watching along. Thank you guys for submitting your 32 images. There was one image I had to leave out because the resolution wasn't high enough, but luckily we had 33, so that worked out quite well. Thank you once again for watching along and submitting your images. Bye for now.